We're back for a guest lecture series by Career Services. I'm Meenakshi from the Career Services team and I'll be moderating this session today. Now before we start, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them in the Q&A box. I'll bring them up at the end of the session. Our guest of honor for today has immense experience in all things marketing. Pallavi is a passionate and pioneering senior marketing professional who has worked in leadership positions with global brands such as BMW, MG, Motor, and Harley-Davidson. She has spent over 15 years in building bridges between art and science to create best-in-class digital-first and marketing roadmaps for the premium market segment. She believes in an integrated KPI and business-led approach to marketing. She has been instrumental in launching aspirational brands in India by building iconic campaigns, digital transformation projects, and communities. She serves as an advisor to the Giri Foundation, formed to help women get skilled, financed, and get sustainable and stable work. She also writes articles and hot pieces on marketing, leadership, digital transformation, and the world around her. So everyone, please come together to welcome our guest, Ms. Pallavi Singh. The topic for today is style and substance of leadership, generational changes. Pallavi, welcome, and the stage is all yours.
Thank you so much, Meenakshi. Can you guys hear me properly? Okay, wonderful. So firstly, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share from my experience, but more importantly, also to learn. I'm really looking forward to interesting questions, even sharing some of your experiences. And I know that there are people from different varied experiences and different people who have just joined in the course. So firstly, I hope everybody is safe. I think safe is a very big word today. The only thing today we have is hope and courage to move forward and be each other's strength. So it's easy to say this time will pass. I think most of us who are on the panel today or in the webinar today they're all going through different emotions, whether it's for family, it's for friends, or it's for anybody else or for themselves. I would just say that we've seen over centuries and over histories, and I'll go into the topic, but just to set a premise here is human race has the power and the ability to fight against any challenge. And if you're determined to make that I will fight that challenge, will win, whether it's through any pandemic or it's through your relationships or it's through anything you deal in life, I think you can win. So have faith. I think most importantly right now the country needs is prayer. Prayer for people who've lost their loved ones, prayer for people who are struggling, and prayer for ourselves to go through this. Yeah, and I'm sure we will pass this and remember this over years to come, how we managed to overcome this challenge. Yeah. So with that, I will go into the webinar. And I actually wrote about this in 2 months or 3 months back, an article, because I tend to write on LinkedIn and also for certain kind of papers as well sometimes. And this topic is very close to my heart. And I think it's very close to a lot of people's heart who would have either gone through it or felt that change. So the topic today is the style of substance of leadership, generational changes. Yeah? If I go on the second slide. I think the time we are in today, and we see how so many people have different opinions about the leadership of a country, and we will not go into politics, of course, here. But it is everywhere across us, whether it's a small enterprise, it's a big enterprise, it's a big corporate house, or a lot of new enterprise solutions which are coming. I think leadership is a most prime point where we start from. And one thing is, we always look at leaders, somebody who's at a very senior position, or somebody who's at a mid-level is a leader. But I've often believed that I think we're all leaders. It totally depends on how you want to shape your future, how you want to shape your teams, right? So every person who has the ability or has the courage to innovate or think differently is a leader. And even if you can't think, every person has a different style of leadership, and there is no one set of leadership. And there is, because we're all different, we're all human beings from different cultures, different backgrounds, we studied different places, and every person has something or the other which can value add. The only thing is you have to look at what value add can I do in the place where I'm in. So it totally depends on you actually, then a leader or then an enterprise. That's my view towards leadership. Right? So there is a changing demographic, and we know, especially for India at this point, we're a very young population. And there are so many changes which have happened over the last 10 years. I think there were changes which used to happen every 15 years or 20 years. Now changes are happening between 3 to 5 years. Because people in India have become more confident. They've become more courageous. They're very confident about who they are. They're comfortable in their skin. And we see that most leaders today come from, smaller cities or tier 2 or tier 3 cities. Growth is also coming from smaller cities because there is hunger to learn. There is hunger to perform. There is this whole thing of, I want to make my parents proud. I want to make a difference. And the difference is sometimes not just for the organization, it's actually for themselves and for a larger society, which is what a generational change has happened over a period of time. There was a time when you wanted a 9-to-5 job and they were at home. Today, people want a balanced life. And those are true leaders, right? Who have a balanced life for their work, for their family, for their personal goals. And I think what change which has really happened is that people want time for themselves. They want to identify who I am, what I want to do, what is my passion point, right? And I think that has not happened for the longest time in our country, because we're a very family-driven country, right? We care, we love, and which is very great about the nation, about our people, right? But I think there is that dramatic shift which has happened because of the younger population, that what is it that I want? What makes me happy? I think for the longest of time, it was never what makes me happy, it was what makes my family happy. Will I be able to, nurture my family, my children? Will I have enough money to sustain education of my children? And that the younger population started looking differently, right? But it also means that our population today, which I'm very, I think when we talk to young people, and myself, I feel that we feel more responsible for sustainability. We feel more responsible to take care of our country in a better way, right? And we see that today, so many people are coming forward to help each other, right? Government can do whatever they want to some extent, but it is us, the people, who can support each other by the end of the day. We have won so many wars only because people came forward and fought. Right? We all know that from history. So why there is so much shift, and why organizations need to understand, and I think leaders need to understand. I used to really reflect a lot on my leadership style, on learn, and a lot of time my team, there were so many people I always looked at. I always wanted to hire young people in my team, like always young people, because they have a drive to make things happen. And that way, of course, it is also very challenging because it's different style of leadership, right? And how it impacts different facets of an organization. It impacts, it shows how culturally it's a diverse organization when you have different set of people from different backgrounds, different age group, different demographics. It also helps in better performance because then there is no one layer of that's how we do work, right? It also helps the brand because the persona people create, brands are made by people. And often we think that brands make people. Actually, people make brands. And it's a clear indication. I have an example. For example, Harley Davidson. Harley Davidson is always have been known for community. And it's not the brand which made the community. It's actually the customers who made Harley Davidson what it is today. And customers are who? Us, the people, right? So I think innovation is the most important thing today. And innovation is a very big word we use today. It's been happening for decades, for centuries. But innovation in that time of era was very, very different to the innovation at this time of the year, right? So succession is most important. Today we see that, we're always, sometimes organizations are always hunting for leaders outside the organization because there's been no succession. And this whole idea of, we need 20 years of experience or we need 15 years of experience. I think 10 years of experience don't matter anymore. It is what the person brings on table. You can make people learn if they have the ability and the courage and the empathy for people to do things. Often too much experience, in my view, that's my perspective, also this is a set of leadership. This is how we work. This is how I work. So you better learn how to work with me the way I work. But the more different set of leadership styles you have, I think organization has a longer run to succeed. Today you look at a lot of startups, right? They all come from different backgrounds and different experiences, and that's how startups are successful. One big example is Ather Energy in our country today, right? They produce electric scooters. Founders are fairly very young, 32, 33, are doing fairly well. They've really taken India to a different scale in terms of electric scooters. And that's where the drive lies, right? To make a difference for your country, for your nation, for yourself, for your community. And I really feel that they're doing some fantastic work. And then sustainability. Sustainability is very close to my heart, and I think often most organizations, right, and most leaders don't know how to do sustainability because it comes into CSR sometimes, right? Or sometimes is it communication or is it CSR? We don't know. Or sustainability sometimes is only about product innovation. But I think sustainability is about in every aspect of your vertical, whether it's engineering, whether it's product development, whether it's marketing, whether it's brand development, whether it's digital transformation or evangelism or IT. Sustainability has to be in all facets of your verticals. It can't be just in one facet. Yeah, and that means that you're looking at everything from a virtue of how do you make a difference for your planet in every possible way. Today, so many times, just a little example I'll give you. We have this habit of writing on a paper so much, and we keep collecting and throwing it in the bin. After a few weeks, you see your bin is full of so much paper. If you just remove your bin and you don't keep it where it should be, you will stop wasting paper because it's about convenience. Paper, throw, right? Paper, throw, right? So it's just mindset change. I think it's a change in mindset for every vertical, every person to think about sustainability, and that's how we will really make an impact. If impact is only for one part, then I think sustainability will really take a longer haul to actually come to be accomplished. Yeah, if we can go to the next slide. And it's often said that, and I feel in leaderships, that too young, I don't think so they can handle it. I don't think so they can handle a team because they speak a different language. They are different people. They have a different style of working. I think as leaders, it is so important that we understand that next generation inevitably speaks a different language. And sometimes it frustrates some people that why can't it? And they question, and which is what I think is a beautiful part of the generation today. They have the ability and the courage to question, which didn't happen I think when I came out of MBA, you were always what the boss is saying, let's just do that. Just listen carefully what the boss says, just listen, write down the key points. But we didn't have the ability to question that much because we always just wanted to learn, but also were scared, until you know your subject so well, you didn't want it. But today, it's very different. You're like, I don't get it. Can you please repeat? I don't think I could ever say to my boss, I don't get it. But today, the generation says, I don't get it. Can you please repeat it? I don't think so. I buy in your point of view. And I think these are few things when the generation today, when they speak about it, I think it's a great way to reflect on leaders to say, it's okay they speak a different language. It's okay they have a different perspective, and learn from them. And when seasoned workers, seasoned professionals and young talent, if they come together, I think that's a diamond mine. And if they can work together, that's how countries can progress. Yeah, and then if the younger generation does not feel welcome, does not feel trusted, does not feel, and that's the generational change which we're seeing. They feel disengaged, they feel they're out of touch. And organizations and leadership teams and core teams, they become more transactional. Come to office, do your work, get your paycheck, focus, thank you very much. There's no emotional connect. There's no connect that I want to make a difference. And of course, then the work is suboptimal. You don't get work which is interesting. You don't get work which is innovative, which is creative. And then, of course, what does it lead to? Why do people then say, it's fine, maybe I'll find a new job, I'll do a new thing, I'm not sure about where I am, this is not my space. They feel demotivated. And I think it's a responsibility of leaders, it's a responsibility of leadership teams to understand, pick up those nuances, those signals, and find out why do teams feel like that. And that's where, nowadays, if you see, there are in organizations, and especially some leaderships, teams across the world have started to form smaller groups, which are called core development teams. And the core development team's job is only to look at people and teams who can be developed further. People who are trying to make a difference. People who are not so happy. People who don't feel they're effective at work. How can this core team? It's not a job of an HR. I think HR's job, often you think HR has to help, HR has to do this, but it's not, it's different verticals of leadership teams coming together to find out how do we make a landscape and a canvas that our organization is so different that people outside say, I want to be part of this company. I think I've heard my friends say, great culture, great people, great leaders. I think I want to work with this leader. Often people don't work with organizations and companies, people work for leaders. People work for leaders and people lead for leaders. Yeah, and I think we've all known this for a really long time. We've studied that in so many phrases heard from friends, right? So if I go on the next slide, I think when I wrote about this, and I guess this line is very close to my heart, that as leaders we must learn to build bridges that straddle old habits and comfort zones, and more fertile grounds for disruptive actions. And I think it is just so important today for us to understand that we all are so happy in our comfort zones as people. Leadership is different, but as people, right? We are first people and then we are leaders and then we work for organizations. We're happy in the place we are in. Like Meenakshi is in Assam, but I think she works in Bombay. But I'm sure that her comfort zone is Bombay because she's been in Bombay. Now she's in Assam, she's feeling different. But it's just, we need to get out of our comfort zones and embrace people. And I think when you start embracing different people from different cultures and different backgrounds is when you truly understand what leadership is all about. And I was very lucky and I was fortunate to actually work with some phenomenal leaders back in my, 8 years back or 10 years back. I had some amazing leaders who embraced change, who embraced passion. And I think for me personally, I'm extremely a passionate person for what I do and what I believe in. But there are people around you who feel extremely passionate about their work, they feel passionate about coming to office every day or their own enterprise solution or a startup and getting their teams together. I think that kind of culture is very important. When structure and processes take first stage, then people and passion, that's where I think the problem for leadership is. It's very important, and I think to have a structure and a process, because every large or a small organization needs to have that, because it drives people in one direction. But I'm a firm believer of one thing, that you can't be a victim of process. The day you become a victim of process, you've lost your zeal to perform. Yeah? And how can you do it in a best way? And on the right hand side of the slide, it's rated the best way to accomplish that is to align creative energy of the youth and the experience of the seasoned workers. Is when you can truly make a blueprint of an amazing startup or an organization or a leadership team which thrives for one goal, is to succeed and is to perform. Yeah? Can we go on to the next slide, please? So how does one begin to do that? That is the most important thing. It's I'm just trying to give you 3 points from a leadership perspective, and from my perspective, it may be okay, it may not be okay. Every person is different. Every person has a different leadership style. And number 1 for me has always been, because I work with leaders who embrace young people, and I'm so grateful and I have amazing gratitude that whatever I've learned or whatever I have achieved little bit in my life is because of the people and the mentors I've had in my life, or friends or my team members. I've had some amazing team members who helped me grow as a professional. So the number 1 thing is really identifying young leaders and champions and giving them a seat at the table. So often, I have seen in my experience agencies, because I used to work with a lot of agencies and still do, they definitely do have younger people in their team, but they are often making notes or they have made a presentation which they have worked on, but they never get to present it because they have a senior account director who is going to present it. And I've always made that a habit, that I always need to listen from the person who's actually worked on it, and not from a person who just had a cup of coffee or tea in the morning and said, okay, fine, you've done it, let me take it head on to the client. That doesn't work on it, because you can easily know who's actually worked on it if you sit in a conference room and you see a people, and especially the person, he or she who operates the PowerPoint is the person who's actually done all the hard work behind the scenes. So, and that's the driver. I mean, that's why it's very important that if you have young people who are working on projects on your team, give them a voice. And once you've given them a voice, trust them, let them fail. It's okay to fail. If you don't let them fail, they will never learn. They will never grow. People help us to, we have to always look at leaders and ourselves and say, if somebody didn't give us an opportunity to fail, we won't have never learned. We won't have maybe achieved what we achieved today. So it's important to actually let people fail. It's fine. And that's how they will trust you more. They will be more cautious of what they're doing. They will be more empathetic for the organization. And the second, I think, for me, very, very critical is, from a leadership perspective, is identifying cultural and digital trends and then adapting them for your product. Often what happens is that we always look inward, right? This is my organization, this is my product, and let's go to market. This is my landscape. But if you look at what digital transformation or digital platforms and enterprise solutions today have done, it gives us a great opportunity to know what are our customers wanting from the brand, and why did they love our brand, and why did they not love our brand now, or will not love in the future, right? And then I think because of digital footprint and consumers being so vocal about what they like and they didn't like, and because of data science today, if you put all of this together, you would know what is your goals for organizations as leaders to accomplish, and then you know what are the goals you want to accomplish and your customers want from you. Customers make the company. Company works for shareholders, right? But ultimately, who makes organizations thrive? It is first your own personal employees, and the second is the customer, and third is XYZ board members. Yeah? So it's very, very important to look at trends before making any decision. Even if you're a great company or you make great products, you've seen great companies. Kodak is one big example. We've seen a lot of organizations go in a very different way because They were so proud of what they did and what they made that they never looked outside what the competition is trying to do, or what a new entrant is trying to do, or what customers are really asking for. So leadership is all about really understanding not just about your inner transformation, but outer transformation of what is happening in the world around you, because the world's changing very fast. And the third is, I think, really looking at, like what I said, looking at teams, departments, functions, identifying young leaders and champions who have tried to make a change, who have tried and zeal to make things different. And I think these three things can then, of course, make great enterprises, whether they're smaller or bigger. And I think that way it also supports different, like for example, HR, it really supports the HR functions, that the leaders are not just thinking about their own party, they're thinking about organization. Yeah. If I go to the next slide, and I think, this is also very, this time when I wrote, I really believe in this, and this is my closing slide, and then we can open up for questions, is that we often feel, like I said, right, that, oh my God, if you want to get a kick-ass, new gen leader, very different, let's look outside. That's the first thing organizations do, because you want to transform. And that is when it happens when you've never looked at your own people to develop them into leaders that they can step up in a very different way, right? So that's why, like, whatever I spoke in my previous slides, I did talk about the three facets, I did talk about younger leaders, I spoke about different facets of leadership. The great delight in excellence is often found very, very closer to home than in some mythical land we all want to find people from. So this is my closing slide, and I hope I was able to impart some of my experience or share my perspective about leadership and how I feel that the younger generation is actually the soil. I personally feel they're the soil for anything we do today. If they feel connected, if they feel enough for your enterprise and the solution and for the leader, I think the organization has already won. So with that, I will close and open up for questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pallavi. I mean, all the slides were so relatable, and I'm sure if organizations start following all of these, they'll definitely just move ahead and forward. So I'm just starting with the questions. The first question is from Nitin. Nitin says that even though leaders are changing nowadays, there are a lot of them who still have biases against the younger generation. So how does the younger generation handle biases from top-down people?
So, I faced it, so I can tell you from my experience as well. See, every generation is different, right? And the generation today, especially the younger generation, has access to so much information and so much knowledge, which the generation before didn't have. So there is this sense of insecurity among leaders who come from different generations, thinking that this may not lead to the business outcome of what you're thinking, right? So if I were to give you maybe a perspective or a solution to this, I think you have to be so good at what you do. And if you're coming up with an idea, or you're coming up with a solution, back it with data, with information, and most importantly, customer insights. If you have insights about your business and you understand whatever
Please stand by. I think she's facing some technical difficulties. Give us a minute. still audible? Okay. Apologies for this. I think this is just one of the many times that we realize that we are so dependent on technology. So just give us a minute. She will be back. And thank you for your patience. Thank you. Also, if you could type your questions in the Q&A box, it's a little tough for me to track all the questions in the chat box. Pallavi, can you hear us? Okay, we're just sending her a link again. Probably till the time she joins, let me just get to know you a little better. So how is it appearing for online sessions while also at work? How are you juggling the both of them? Hi Dhanalakshmi, we'll be sharing the presentation with you as well. Just give us a couple of days. We will get it from the speaker. Hi Nishtha. We're trying this, so these sessions also depend on the schedule of the speakers as well as your sessions as well, because I think you have classes over the weekends. So
hi, can you hear me?
Hi Pallavi.
I'm so sorry. I think it's never happened before. Sometimes technology can fail us, right? I'm so
exactly.
sorry.
It's just technology.
Okay, great. Can you see me and can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So I think I was saying, yeah. I was, So what I was saying was that, if you really want to make that difference on that question which Nitin, right, asked?
Right.
Yeah. So if you can actually have consumer insights, really understand your product very well and back it with data, over a period of time, sometimes it depends totally on your, on your mentor or on your boss, to understand your perspective, but be at it. I think it's only once you understand how you can make that change. You just have to be a little more resilient, depending upon the person you're kind of working with, right? And you could make that change. But consumer insights is the most important thing.
Thank you. Ajay has a question that, hi Pallavi, what matters more for leaders, skills and behavior or dedication for work?
See, like I said, every leader is different and every organization is different, right? So, but I think what matters to you, you should ask that question first. Not what matters to leaders, what matters to me as a person. I think hard work and dedication is the most important thing. Without hard work and dedication, you can't accomplish anything in life, right? And conduct and behavior actually takes you, it's more psychological aspects of leadership. So you need both. You can't think, do people need hard work or, hard work more or dedication, or they will focus on behavior. I think both are very, very important. And transformation to make things happen is a combination of everything. It's not A or B. It's actually A plus B equals to C sometimes.
Definitely. Sagar has a question that what innovations were you part of in the digital marketing arena, and what kind of skills should one also acquire to mold oneself in a successful leader?
Okay, so two questions, right? I think it has two questions. So first is, I remember when I joined MG, I think it was a hell of an experience because we didn't really have any legacy systems or a platform to work on, right? Everything was done from scratch, from building a CRM to a DMS or a MarTech solution, a website, or content-first approach, right? And I think that's where we were able to build predictive models for sales. Ultimately, every business has to strive to sales, right? So, and that was an amazing experience because I could really understand how, when you have everything interconnected from your insights perspective, which is your CRM, which is your real consumer, and then you have DMS where, from an automotive perspective, if I were to say, how much wholesale retail as dealers are doing. And third most important thing, which is your website actually, which is the outer universe of what brands or consumers are, how they look at you, right? So when they all are interdependent, and you can see the prediction of how many people came on the website, how many actually had more focus on finance, had more focus on, say, your product page, and then the same set of people or same set of audience group are actually coming back again and again. You're able to build a predictive model for sales. So I think that was a very, very interesting phase for me. And the second bit, which I did from a leadership point of view to build that kind of transformation, is actually I looked at hiring people who are better than me when it comes to understanding digital transformation from a different perspective. And that is where I think the core lies in. When you can embrace people who are better than you in your team, and you can learn from them, because then ultimately, if the organization win, you win. And if you win, the organization wins. It can never be one way round, right? So that would be my answer to your question.
Thank you. Vijaya Sharma has a question that she agrees with the point of having mix and match of age and skills. However, another study has proven that in spite of upskilling themselves, when a well-experienced professional is made to work at the same level as a management trainee, sometimes it breaks the model for the organization. What would you suggest to strike a balance in this case?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
I'll just shorten it for you. So sometimes when people are really skilled, they are given some importance, but they're also made to work with management trainees who have just joined the organization. So this might lead to kind of an imbalance between them. So how do you suggest that they strike a balance?
I think, my perspective, I think it's a great opportunity. If you're a senior leader and if you get to work with a management trainee, you are refreshing yourself. You are refreshing yourself. You are doing a favor to yourself, not to the management trainee. Because when you learned all those techniques, which are now older techniques, which the new generation has learned in a very different way. So I think it's called reverse mentorship in some ways. I think it is reverse mentorship what organizations are trying to do today. And that really helps you to be grounded. It puts you in a place that, remember, you also came from here. So understand the perspective of the new blood coming in. So balance, to me, it's reverse mentorship, and I think it's very, very important for people to do this. And if leaders who don't want to do it, I think it's their loss. I'm being honest, it's their loss.
Sudhakar says, hello Pallavi, you have suggested a mix of younger generation and experienced as well. What do you suggest should be a perfect balance or a perfect mix, since this is a little theoretical as well?
See, in life, nothing is perfect, and in life, nothing is proven absolutely correct. If you see a learning curve, sometimes your curve, and even if you see growth, or if you see how countries flourish, or even for that matter how stock market works, it's never upward or it's never totally downwards. There are uphills and there's downs, and that's how things work in life. So like I said, having a mix of both is very important. Now it depends on organizations' goals, what they want to achieve. That mix would help to identify where two should come together. Now, if you are, for example, if you have a very important new product enterprise solution which needs to be launched. Now, the phases of that enterprise solution is very different. There is first insights, you need to do a lot of research, then comes a business plan, then you look at the kind of money you need to invest, which is business development, and then you look at how much money you can actually make from a P&L perspective. And then you can have different people put in different buckets. That way you have perspective from different consumers, because they're all consumers, right? We people as employees are consumers. And that way you can strike a balance. Yeah, and I think usually from my point of view, I think I would say like a 70-30 is a great balance to have. When you have a very important project or a go-to-market perspective which is going into. And it also depends on the industry, right? If you're in the internet space or entertainment space or a sports space, definitely the younger the generation, the better. But if you're in the medical space or, a very different space where the combination would be very, very different, right? Great question.
Shamir has a question that nowadays technology is changing the way that people were born in the 1970s or 80s used to work. A lot of employees who had given their heart and soul to the company are finding themselves to be redundant, as companies are not investing in older employees and rather are hiring newer employees with certain skill sets. Now, what is the way to go about this change, since we cannot retire at 45?
So 45 is a very young age. First of all, you're very young. So why are you even thinking this way? I think, like I said, the responsibility of your future and your career lies in your own hands, not the organization. Ever. It never lies in the organization hands. So you have to learn with time. You have to skill yourself. And I think that's why to anticipate what is it that I want to accomplish in the next 3 to 4 years is when you will never feel that you're not required and you don't have the skill set. So it totally, I think personally, I feel that my growth and my progress is in my hands, not the organization's hands. So if it's in my hands, then I need to put a chart or I need to put a vision board for myself and say, these are the new trends or these are the new industries which are coming in. what is it that I need to learn so that I'm always relevant? There are a lot of people. I'll give you an example. When pandemic hit us, there were so many people, and I will talk about my grandfather. He's never used a phone. He's not used Amazon or any Grofers or anything like that. But he learned. He said, "What if I need to order and you guys are not around? How will I manage?" So somebody even at 90 can learn. I think we can easily conquer the world. So there are people who are willing to learn. I think it totally depends on what is your willingness to accomplish your goals. If you have a willingness to work till 80 or 70 or 60, it totally depends upon you and your personal goals. Then you will push yourself to learn new skills. And that's in your hands, not organization.
Definitely. We have another question about your experience with Japanese companies on leadership. Any advice for young leaders in Japanese companies where hierarchy and seniority have more weightage?
I think Japanese companies are also changing. They are changing. They embrace people with different talent, different point of view. Yeah, culturally Japanese are different. But one thing about Japanese companies they are very product driven. If you see, they are very heavy on product, scale. They think product and they think scale. Yeah. So it's very important for you to understand whichever Japanese company you work for, certain core values of every organization and every culture is the same. So how you can crack the wall or you can be part of the bigger understanding of the organization is know your product very well and try and understand their culture. Embrace their culture. I think, it's important for us as human beings to learn new things, even if that means for you to, you come in the morning and you wish them, or if you have to say thank you, you say arigato gozaimasu. It's okay, because they say so many times namaste and dhanyavad and all of that. But we feel very, how can I say? It's okay. Embracing cultures breaks walls. It builds trust. So I think that's one very simple way I'm just saying for you to break that ice in a culture which is very, top-down culture. I think I would just say, keep it simple, know your product very well, break the ice, embrace their culture, know a little bit about, Japanese love motorsports. They love motorsports. You should learn about motorsports a bit to crack the ice. And if you go outside, people talk so much about cricket, they talk about Super Bowl, they talk about racing. If you just a little bit interest in these things is breaking the ice. It should not always be about work. As people, when we get together for a coffee or a drink, it's not just always about work. And we should not discuss always work. We should discuss about cultures. We should discuss about what these people like, what they don't like. And really, I think sports is such a simple way of connecting the world, because everybody in general talks about sports or entertainment, or I'm not such a big fan of Bollywood, but yeah, sometimes Bollywood is there. So.
Thank you for that answer. Ruchira has a question that modus operandi of both generations are usually different. While the younger generation has more technology oriented and sometimes they feel superior in their ways, the older generation is sometimes less receptive. How do I tackle this?
Like I said, the problem is the older generation. It's not the younger generation. Because there is a simple, it's very simple. Today, let's look at family, right? We all live in a family, and today, if you're having a dialogue with your mother or your father, you think very different from them, and you tend to have an argument. As younger people, you do, right? You're like, I don't think so, it's right. I don't think so. I buy in this point, mom or dad or dadi or dada or whoever. You will give your point of view, because that's how human beings are. We come from different generations and we learn different skills. In school, we are taught differently. In universities, we are taught differently. So we have a different pattern. So I think it's very important for the I won't say an older generation, but a senior generation to embrace what the younger people bring on board. But for the younger generation, also it's very important to respect the opinion because they have so much experience, right? And their experiences vary to pick up nuances or pick up insights which can actually benefit their new way of thinking, plus the experience of the senior, a senior leader or a senior person. So it's about compatibility in a lot of ways. Relationships are all about compatibility. Leadership is compatibility, and you have to work on it. There is no set rule on it. It is a work. It's an everyday work. Relationships are work, right? We all know that. So it's similarly, leaders and colleagues and teams are a day which you have to work on it every single day to make it work.
Abhinav says that, hey, it was a wonderful session today. Wanted to know the attributes or characteristics of a good leader in challenging scenarios.
Sorry?
Abhinav says that, hey, it was a wonderful session today. Wanted to know about the attributes or characteristics of a good leader in challenging scenarios.
Great question, Abhinav. I think the most important, like I said, every leader is different, but I will give my perspective. For me, most important thing during challenging times, you always know there can be a crisis. Yeah? Crises have to happen. If crises don't come, you don't learn and you don't progress as a humanity. Yeah. So as leader, I think most important thing is to predict crisis, to always be ready for crisis. That's one. That's why we have a crisis management team, right? Always there is a crisis team. And even in homes, you'll always see whether it's a wife or a husband or a, maybe your father-in-law or your mother-in-law. One person is always thinking of what if this goes wrong? How will we work, right? So there is that crisis management as a person and as a leader. You need to have that if things don't go the way you want it, and if shit hits the roof, this is my plan, and that has to be always. That's a big, very, very important trait of a leader who's futuristic. And I think when challenges hit, you need to have a plan. Yeah, you can't say we are making a plan. Your plan should be there because that's why you have a crisis team. Anywhere, any enterprise, any solution, home or companies or corporates. And when challenges are there, I think the most important thing is to actually communicate. I think communication during that time is the most important thing, but communication with space. Often we tend to think over-communication is great. I think over-communication is never great. When crises happen and challenges happen, people want space. People give us space to manage our own problems. And they will always ask for help, especially from an organization point of view, because we tend to become very, do you need anything? Sometimes people want space and they will come back to you if they need help and they need support, right? And I think second is having emotional empathy. Empathy, not just for the sake of it, of just messaging or calling. Sometimes empathy is actually not seen, it's actually felt. And that only happens if you have a connection with your people, which is trusting connection. And I think those are things which you build over the period of time as leaders. And I also feel that as leaders, it's very important for you to be a bit, I won't say spiritually driven, but more humanly driven. Humility and humanity is the most important thing for a good leader. You may be really good at what you do for business development, for all of that. But if you're not a humane person, then you're really not a true leader. So, yeah, thanks for that question. It's something which I truly believe leaders need to do.
Shekhar has a very interesting question, that how can we grab the attention from leadership from young junior fellow members, even if they work hard within their company?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Chandrasekhar, he has a question that how can we grab the attention from the leadership how can we grab the attention of the leadership from junior, younger fellows, even if they have been working really hard in their own company as well?
I think it's two questions. I'm not able to get the question. How can we grab attention from senior leaders? How can younger people get attention from senior leaders? Is that the question?
Let me just ask them to unmute themselves.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'll go to the next question. Chandrasekhar, if you can hear me. Alright, till the time he comes, I'll just take the next question from Samir again. That there's a great divide between Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z people. How can technology help to bridge this? Ego clashes and overconfidence can also lead to such issues.
Yeah, I mean, sorry.
I'm sorry, Pallavi. Sorry to interrupt. This is Chandra. Yeah, as you said, those are two questions. The person is working in the same organization very long and with his hard work. But if a junior fellow would like to grab leadership attention to move further and to grow in later, what is the criteria? If you can able to explain it, I'm okay. Else I can wait some time after finishing up this question. I clubbed both the questions as a single question. I just want to waste time for others.
Okay. So basically, your question is that if an employee is already working in the organization for a long time and has done a lot, but then there is a younger person who joins in and is actually getting more attention from a senior.
Yeah, no, ma'am. The same person, the same younger, in the mid-range or above the manager level, that person is working very long time in this organization, and he is working very hard, and he is trying to grow in leadership, for the leadership roles. At that time, how can he grab attention from the leaders? That's the same person as a young fellow.
Okay, understand. So I think thanks for clarifying, Chandra. See, when a person is working very hard, and I think most important thing is to work hard and keep at it. To get attention from the leadership depends upon a lot of facets, right? And if a person is not getting because the person wants to climb a ladder, a lot of it depends upon your boss. Yeah? I think it's important for you to be very clear with your boss what your goals are and what your aspirations are, right? First step is to actually have a one-on-one dialogue. And there are clear KPIs, right? Every organization has clear KPIs and there is a succession planning. So what are the key KPIs which are for that person who's been working so hard? And he or she should have a very constructive dialogue with the boss and say, these were my key KPIs I've been achieving for such a long time. Where do you see yourself? I mean, where do you see me in the organization in my next succession planning? So I think that kind of constructive dialogue with the boss is very important, but I also feel it's very, very critical for you, who the person is, he or she, to know that what my KPIs are and am I achieving those KPIs, because there are personal KPIs and then there are organizational KPIs, right? And then, have a one-on-one dialogue with your boss, and you should have very clear communication of what your personal aspirations are, and that's how you move, and that's how you get maybe your position of where the person wants to be.
Yeah, excellent, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Back to Shamir's question, and I understand it's already 6. Is it okay if I take 1-2 more questions?
Yeah, I want to answer that question. I don't know who asked about the female employees. I was just saying that question. I would love to.
Sorry, I'm a bit biased because I have to do right when it comes to, and not biased, but I think it's very important for female force to feel motivated to be part of the larger goal. But let's go back to Sameer's question first.
So we'll keep that for the last question. So for the second last question, Sameer has a question that there's a great divide between Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z people. How can technology help bridge this? Ego clashes and overconfidence can also lead to such issues.
Beautiful question, Sameer. I think it will always be. Generations come with different learnings and different patterns and different things which they've seen. So of course there'll be a clash. But what can divide, what can actually not divide, what can bring all of this together today is data, right? I think the most important thing, if Gen X, Gen Y and Gen Z think differently, is because they come from different learnings and different backgrounds, right? And different way of thinking, right? But if there is anything, for example, if there is a project all three generations are working on, then the best way is not what Gen X, Gen Y or Gen Z thinks about, but what does the data tell you? Pick up the data, pick up information, pick up what the data throws at you and listen to the customer. It's not about what I feel, because customer decides what they feel and what the organizations to do. So most important thing is having an analytic mindset and having a data-driven approach and researching. I think having a research mindset is very important. Before you go and say, I feel and I think and I project and this is my feeling, nobody cares about what you feel. People care and organizations actually care about when it's a project, what does the customer feel? What is the customer saying? What does my customer believe? So data is your gold mine. Look at data, put the insights in, and I think everything then becomes a canvas for everybody, which is very simple to comprehend.
Thank you so much for the answer. And for the question you mentioned, it's from Sarika Kwatla.
Yeah.
How do we motivate female employees coming in leadership roles?
I was talking at a TEDx event, I think in the month of March, and the topic I picked up was breaking the glass ceiling in the corporate world for women. And not just corporate world in general. It is not easy. I will be very honest. It is not easy. But it is not tough. Yeah, nothing is impossible. The most important thing for female employees is not getting motivation from outside. You have to be self-motivated. And it's not just for female employees, it's also for male colleagues. You have to be self-motivated to be, and you sometimes don't have to be too good to perform, but be too good not to be ignored. Yeah? You should be so good that you can't be ignored, but don't be under pressure of I have to be too good to perform. Because performance for everybody is different. Women play a very different role in different ways of their lives, right? And you are a performer. Actually, women are performers in so many roles of their lives. So most important thing for women to feel motivated is self-motivation. Most importantly, be confident of the person you are. Embrace yourself and have personal goals. As women, we don't have personal goals sometimes. And and it's great to learn this from male colleagues. They're very personally driven, and it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Having a mentor who's a male colleague or a female colleague, having personal goals, this is my goal, apart from my family goal, is very, very important. Be confident, be true to your identity, who you are. You don't have to change yourself for anybody. Never. Be true to your identity of who you are. Change yourself for good. That is very important. Changing yourself is very important for good. But being self-motivated, having personal goals, and third most important thing, be so good that you can't be ignored. And just don't take nonsense. Yeah?
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Pallavi. I actually have, and this session has been so interesting that I still have about 59 more questions to go. But in the interest of time, I will just wrap this up. Thank thank you so much for your time. And this has really motivated us to learn, grow, and adapt as well. So we are actually going the weekend with a lot of food for thought. So once again, on the behalf of all the learners at Emeritus and Eruditus, thank you so much for taking out the time to be here with us. And all the learners, thank you so much for the questions. This was really interesting. And I wish everyone a really good day ahead and an amazing weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, everybody. Please take care, be safe, lots of love, be confident, and be happy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Meenakshi. Bye.